TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Palestinian Islamists are stepping up efforts to exert pressure on Jerusalem by terrorizing the southern communities of Israel, prompting an Israeli retaliatory bombardment. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stresses that 95% of the threats which the Jewish state has to deal with originate from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Tensions are ratcheting up between Turkey and Greece in the eastern Mediterranean. Palestinian Islamists are stepping up efforts to exert pressure on Jerusalem by terrorizing the southern communities of Israel. Dozens of balloons attached to incendiary and explosive devices had been sent aloft out of the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip, sparking more than 70 blazes in the enclave's periphery, including in the Israeli Eshkol, Sha'ar HaNegev, and Chof Ashkelon regional councils. Intelligence sources told TV7 that the Islamist Hamas organization aims to use its terror-related methods as leverage against Israel for the purpose of extracting additional benefits for the Gaza Strip. Nevertheless, Jerusalem's leadership is seemingly unimpressed, vowing to respond with force to any form of terror which emanates from the Gaza Strip.
בדרום, חמאס מאפשר להמשיך להפריח בלוני תבערה או בלוני נפץ למדינת ישראל. אנחנו לא מוכנים לקבל את זה. סגרנו את כרם שלום כתוצאה מהעניין הזה. טוב יעשו אם יחדלו מלהפר את הביטחון והשקט במדינת ישראל. היה ולא, נצטרך להגיב ובעוצמה.
Despite Israel's clear warning to Hamas, the balloon terrorism persists. As a result, Israel's border police deployed an additional device along the Gaza border that is designed to intercept balloons by means of laser beams. Separately, the Israeli military conducted a retaliatory bombardment against militant installations belonging to the Islamist Hamas in the Palestinian enclave. The IDF spokesperson's unit said in a statement that fighter jets, attack helicopters, and tanks struck a military compound, underground infrastructure, and observation posts. The statement went on to reiterate that the Hamas terror organization is responsible for all events transpiring in the Gaza Strip and emanating from it, and will bear the consequences for terror activity against Israeli civilians. In a written response, Hamas spokesman Fawzi Barhoum released a statement in which he insisted that the bombardment of Hamas installations in Gaza by the IDF are a testament for the crimes of the occupation, as he put it. Barhoum further underscored, quote, the continued Zionist aggression against Gaza and the targeting of infrastructure belonging to the resistance indicates clearly that the occupation persists with its policy and crimes, which will not deter the Palestinian nation nor its armed struggle. Turning now to the Israeli Chatzor Air Force Base, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was briefed on Israel's Air Force operations by Israeli Air Force Commander Major General Amikam Nolkin and IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi. Subsequently, the Israeli premier ascertained in remarks to the press that 95% of the threats which the Jewish state has to deal with originate from the Islamic Republic of Iran.
סיימתי עכשיו תדרוך וסיור בבסיס חיל האוויר עם הרמטכ"ל ומפקד חיל האוויר. חיל האוויר פועל ברדיוס של 360 מעלות נגד האיומים על מדינת ישראל. 95% מהאיומים האלה מקורם באיראן. איראן מאיימת עלינו עם נשק גרעיני, עם טילים מדויקים, עם טילים סטטיסטיים, עם הגרורות שלה, הן בלבנון, הן בעזה וגם במקומות אחרים.
Netanyahu went on to praise the Israeli Air Force operations against Iranian orchestrated efforts in the region, including the situation on Israel's southern front vis-a-vis the Iranian-backed Hamas and Tehran's proxy, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
אני שיבחתי את הפעולה של חיל האוויר, אני רוצה להעביר לכל הגרורות של איראן, לרבות בעזה. יהיה מחיר כבד מאוד לטרור הבלונים, אנחנו לא נסבול את זה, אנחנו נפעל ונגבה מחיר יקר. עשינו את זה בעבר, כדאי שיזכרו זאת, כי נעשה זאת גם עכשיו.
Netanyahu also seized the opportunity to urge his coalition partners, including alternate premier and defense minister Benny Gantz in particular, to pass a state budget, which is vital for the sustainability of Israel's qualitative military edge.
אנחנו נדרשים להעביר תקציב במהירות על מנת לענות על הצרכים של הטייסות ושל המערך של צה"ל, גם כדי לתת לנו הגנה וגם כדי לתת לנו התקפה. היכולת שלנו היא גבוהה מאוד, היא צריכה להיות גבוהה עוד יותר. אנחנו לא מפסיקים לרגע. תוך כדי זה שאנחנו נאבקים בקורונה, אנחנו גם שומרים על ביטחון ישראל בכל מקום שהוא קרוב ורחוק.
It is important to explain, as we reported here on TV7 earlier this month, a political crisis in Jerusalem has seemingly threatened the unity government's stability over the state budget. While Prime Minister Netanyahu demands a one-year budget, which he claims is vital to deal with the economic ramifications of the coronavirus pandemic, alternate Premier and Defense Minister Benny Gantz insists on a two-year budget, claiming it crucial for the country's long-term stability. The dispute consequently threatened the existence of the Israeli unity government. In accordance with Israeli law, failure by the Israeli parliament, or Knesset in Hebrew, to pass the budget within the legally prescribed time limitations, in today's context, a deadline set for mid-August, it would lead to the automatic dissolution of the government and the holding of yet another round of national elections. This could force Jerusalem into yet another political limbo that would cost the state billions of shekels at a time when the general public faces economic hardships due to unprecedented unemployment rates, which currently stand at approximately 21.6%. Meanwhile, the dire economic strain on the general public drew thousands to demonstrate in Jerusalem over the government's handling of the economic crisis that emerged in light of the corona pandemic. According to police, some 16,000 Israelis rallied on Saturday night in front of Prime Minister Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem, the majority of whom called for government reform, while a marginalized group focused their protest on Netanyahu's corruption charges, among others. Separately, speaking at a faction meeting, alternate Premier and Defense Minister Gantz urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to force Israel into election, urging him instead to work together to pass a parliamentary bill that would delay the deadline for a state budget by 100 days, which would allow both parties to reach an agreement.
ראש הממשלה בנימין נתניהו, אני קורא לך להעביר החלטת ממשלה עוד היום ולתת תוקף חוקתי אמיתי להבטחתך מאמש. לדון ולאשר בתוך 100 ימים את תקציב המדינה. הסר את איום הבחירות מסדר היום הציבורי, ובמקום פאניקה נאפשר לציבור ודאות, ביטחון ואמון.
Consequently, the Israeli parliament voted today in favor of a bill designed to postpone the final date for approving the state budget by 100 days. The bill effectively grants Netanyahu and Gantz until the 3rd of December to negotiate on the duration and contents of the state budget, effectively delaying the possibility of forcing Israel into a fourth election cycle in less than 2 years. Turning now to the eastern Mediterranean, where tensions are ratcheting up between Turkey and Greece. In a blatant response to a maritime exclusive economic zone agreement between Athens and Cairo, Ankara deployed an exploration vessel, accompanied by 5 warships, into a disputed area not far from the territorial waters of the Greek island of Crete. Justifying the move, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu asserted that the move came as a response to the Greek-Egyptian accord that completely disregards a separate agreement between Turkey and Libya's Tripoli-based government of national accord.
Ama geldiğimiz noktada kimse Türkiye'ye yönelik siz iyi niyet göstermediniz diyemez. Biz gösterdik ama karşı tarafta kötü niyetli bir ülke var. Dolayısıyla suçlayacaklarsa Yunanistan'ı suçlasınlar.
The Turkish top diplomat further announced that in addition to the ongoing exploration, Ankara would issue new licenses for operations near the western borders of its continental shelf and step up all sorts of seismic and drilling operations in the area. In response, Greek Foreign Minister Nikos Dendias warned that Athens would not stand idly by as its sovereignty is violated.
Ότι η Ελλάδα θα υπερασπίσει την κυριαρχία και τα κυριαρχικά της δικαιώματα. Καλούμε την Τουρκία να αποχωρήσει άμεσα από την ελληνική υφαλοκρηπίδα.
The Greek top diplomat further called for an emergency meeting of the European Union's Council for Foreign Affairs to tackle what he referred to as the growing Turkish provocation and misconduct. In response to this development, the Israeli Foreign Ministry released a statement in which it noted, quote, Israel follows closely as tension arises in the eastern Mediterranean. Israel expresses its full support and solidarity with Greece in its maritime zones and its right to delimit its exclusive economic zone. Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7's initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up Singapore once more in prayer for its salvation and peace, alongside our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, as well as for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion worldwide. I'd like also to thank all of our partners for your prayers and financial support, which allows us to continue with our daily TV7 productions here from Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have an Erev Tov. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time.